Hello everyone! I wish I could have made it there to give this speech in person, but thankfully this is 2018 and technology exists, mostly glitch-free. Today I'm sitting here before all of you heartbroken over the loss of a man who was truly larger than life. He was a man like no one I've ever met or ever will. He was my hero. He was my father. This past week has been filled with turmoil. And as I've been reflecting, one of the most troubling realizations I'm struggling with is the fact that my dad has always been there to comfort me and create a sense of security in times of tragedy. Over the years, whenever something went wrong, he'd support me with a hug, a phone call, or a smile. But perhaps one of my favorite memories, an example of his love and kindness, is of him making his famous chicken or turkey soup. His fantastic soups were always there to bring warmth to the soul and became a cherished family ritual. When I think of it, a warm bowl of soup is so powerful, indeed healing when cooked by loving hands. It's so hard now as I realize his loving hands are no longer here. Adding to the pain, right before my father lost his ability to speak, I'd planned to interview him. I'd prepared a series of questions ready to collect pearls of wisdom from his decades of counseling and authoring of 11 books. I'd hoped to create a document for you, all of you, as a sort of David's how-to life guide of some of my dad's best advice in short sound bites. I was crushed with the news that my father had lost his ability to speak, let alone write, during what would be his last hospital stay. There was one particular question I wanted to ask, but was heartbroken would never be answered. I wanted to ask him, Dad, how have you coped with with any kind of loss over the span of your lifetime? When my dad passed away on Friday, I felt I needed his answer more than ever. But upon careful reflection, I realized that I already had that answer. Over the past year, I had the privilege of working with my dad on his autobiography, which many of you have already read. And within the beginning chapters, he recounted losing his father at the very young age of 11 during the Great Depression. I pored over this section this week again and again, seeking answers to how he coped with the loss of his dad. And two things struck me. First, immediately following his father's passing, my dad sacrificed and stepped in to help his loved ones. He stated in his autobiography, "During the following summer of 1939, I was 12 years old, and I got a job washing dishes at the Hotel Fort Des Moines to help support my family. I was able to give half my earnings to my mother to support her and save the rest." Upon some quick reflection, I realized that though I hadn't been able to make it to Montana during what would be my father's final hospital stay because of complications from my illness, I stepped in wherever I could and gave all I had from afar to help and will continue to do so. The second statement from my dad's autobiography that revealed more of his wisdom was this: "The event of my father's death caused me to think about my life, and I vowed at his funeral that I was going to serve the Lord like my father and make some mark in this world." If you know my dad, he did just that. In addition to becoming a minister, one of his career highlights was being honored by having an American flag flown in his name atop the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. A congressional member wanted to commemorate him for having helped troubled children and families in his private practice and for his years of service to the country. For many years, my dad would hang this very same flag from our front porch on national holidays. So, there are some important takeaways from all of this. In a time of deep pain, my dad took care of and comforted those around him and then proceeded to take up a cause. But there was a third thing I remembered outside of his autobiography regarding loss. My dad had shared with me countless times during his life that he thought of his own dad every single day in some way, shape, or form and modeled his life after him. I personally have already started to do just that and have begun asking myself daily, what would Dad do in this situation? How would he respond? So, what would my dad do if he knew all of you were grieving today? I realized the answer as soon as I asked this question myself. He'd want to make you all soup and comfort you. And while I'm not there to be able to make that happen today, I'm going to do as my dad did and take up a cause. Like the flag that was flown over the nation's capital, I am commemorating my dad in a special way. A few days ago, I bought this yellow vintage stock pot to remember him and his favorite color, and I am engraving it in my dad's honor. It is my hope that it becomes a traveling vessel, a sort of culinary chain letter for those who could use a little bit of comfort in their own lives while keeping my father's memory alive. I'm going to make a nice soup and send this pot on its maiden voyage in Seattle to bring comfort to some good friends here, Kari Callahan and Chris Johnston. My vision is that my friends will pay it forward by cooking soup for someone they know who needs comfort, and it will be continued to be passed on to families in need of comfort for many generations to come. I've also started a Facebook page called David's Traveling Soup Pot to track where this pot goes, and so others may connect, share photos, and follow the stories that the pot touches. It is my hope that it will reach many homes across the continent in its lifetime. So take heart today. If you are broken over my father's passing, know that he is very much alive in all of us, and I am vowing to continue to pass on the torch of his good works. Whenever you find yourself broken by one of life's tragedies, remember to cast, C-A-S-T. Take up a cause. Ask yourself what your loved one would have wanted in a given situation. Step in to help those affected by a tragedy, and pass on the torch of their good works. Thank you again, and thank you all for coming to celebrate my father today.